Hey everyone, James Lynch here doing a quick reaction video to the news that Khamzat Chimaev will defend his middleweight title against Sean Strickland at UFC 328 in New Jersey. Now, the time I'm recording this fight is not public knowledge. Dana White's going to announce it later tonight is my understanding, so I wanted to get ahead on this, talk about the matchup, talk about the fight. And if you guys remember, I did a video on this a couple weeks back. It's right here. It says the UFC better not fumble this title fight. It looks like they decided to do this, and I got a lot of flack for that video because a lot of people will point out that usually I am on the side of merit. And listen, I do feel bad for Nasruddin Imavov not getting this title shot. He's absolutely done everything he needs to do to get a title shot. But like I mentioned in that video, one of the things the UFC has struggled to do when it comes to making fights is having real grudge matches, people that don't like each other, and adding some hype to a fight. And I think this is the makings of one of the best grudge match fights for a title that we've seen in a long time. And that is obviously Khamzat Chimaev and Sean Strickland fighting each other. They don't like each other. There's some history. They've trained together too. Sean Strickland, very outlandish on the mic. Khamzat Chimaev, not afraid to talk some trash either. We've seen some of the back and forth on social media. I mean, let's just talk about the context of this. And that is that these two don't like each other. They're two high-level fighters. It's going to be a very interesting build-up to this fight. And you've already got the UFC kind of stacking the deck a bit with the White House card. We know International Fight Week's going to be a big event. They don't have a lot of options for title fights. So this makes sense putting this fight in New Jersey. And this is a fight that I kind of figured would take place on this event as well. Now let's do a quick tail of the tape between these two. Khamzat Chimaev, obviously undefeated, 15-0, 31 years old, 6'2" with a 75-inch reach. You got Sean Strickland, who's much older at 35, not that much older, 4 years older, 6'1" with a 76-inch reach. So you'll see there, Chimaev's only an inch taller. Strickland actually has the reach advantage. So, you know, there's all going to be all this talk about like who's bigger, stronger, all that stuff. It's going to be pretty interesting from that perspective. If we go take a little bit more of a look here at this fight, you know, Sean Strickland, let's look at his stats, which I think are interesting to note here. Sean Strickland, lots of striking output, 6.04. His striking accuracy is at 42%, which is a bit lower. His striking defense is at 60%, so he does get hit a little bit, but not that much. 60% is actually fairly high. His takedown defense is at 76%. That is certainly going to get tested in this fight against Khamzat Chimaev, who we saw in his last fight just take down Dricus Du Plessis at will. Du Plessis looked like, he got dominated. I mean, there's no other way to put it, right? If we take a closer look at Chimaev's stats, kind of have a look here as well. Chimaev, his takedown defense is 85, although we won't see a takedown there. His striking defense is at 43%, so that actually isn't that high. He does get hit a bit. So that's where things get interesting if it does stay standing. Now, I would argue Chimaev's got more power than Strickland as far as the stand-up goes. We've seen Chimaev get like some knockout wins. It hasn't happened recently, but you know, you have to go all the way back to the Gerald Meerschaert fight back in September of 2020. The last time he had a knockout win. He also knocked out Reese McKee prior to that. A lot of his wins have come by submission. And here's the interesting thing with Sean Strickland. Strickland has never been submitted in his career. And again, you look at that takedown defense as well at 76%. It's going to make things interesting. I think the big selling point with this fight, and we don't see it too often, like I said, is the fact that this is going to be a good build-up to the fight. There's going to be a lot of back and forth. There's going to be a crazy press conference. They're going to have to add some serious security for both of these guys. Both of these guys, Strickland, remember he had the whole issue last year with the corner and he attacked the guy on the regional show. There was that. Chimaev almost got into it with Ian Gary. He's had other run-ins as well. So this is, I mean, if they're going to put any money into this fight, put it into the security, because these two are going to definitely try and go at it, and it's not something you want to see happen. Again, I do feel for Imavov. I don't know what you do with him now. Maybe he fights Fluffy. I'm not sure. I don't really know what you do with Imavov because he's sort of the one that they thought would happen. But listen, at the end of the day, you got to look at it this way. Is Chimaev Imavov going to be the better MMA fight? Probably. But what are most people going to be more interested in? They're going to be more interested in this fight because, again, it's a grudge match. And this is one of those rare exceptions where I think you got to strike while the iron's hot. Because let's say Imavov and Chimaev fought and you give Strickland someone else. Let's say one of them loses. You take away that potential fight. And I just think in the Paramount era, and also keep in mind too, this is the lens we got to look through. The lens we got to look through right now is they are about entertainment and big fights, and that's why Diego Lopez gets a fight with Alex Volkanovski less than a year after he lost to Volkanovski decisively. That's why Paddy Pimblett's getting title shots against, you know, he had the interim fight with Gaethje. This is the Paramount era. They are very big on entertainment, on fights that are going to be exciting. And listen, even the biggest Imavov fan knows this buildup will be much bigger than a buildup between Imavov and Chimaev. In fact, they did a terrible job of selling this fight. If you want to know why this fight didn't maybe come to fruition with Imavov and Chimaev, you know, I saw Imavov do maybe a couple interviews. He doesn't speak English. Like, again, I feel bad for him here. I'm not saying this is like he should have done things differently, but like Chimaev in an interview was basically like, yeah, I don't really want to fight him. He's a Muslim. We're both Muslim. We don't want to fight each other. Like, that's not a good way to sell a fight. That's not going to get fans to tune in and check out the fight. But when you got Chimaev saying, talking about them training together, and Strickland same thing, and Strickland saying all sorts of stuff that have crossed the line, that's stuff that's going to get people interested in the fight. So I understand it from an entertainment perspective. As far as how I think the fight plays out, I do think Chimaev wins. I think Strickland, he had lightning in a bottle against Israel Adesanya. He's capable of pulling off an upset. We've seen that before. I just think Chimaev is, I don't know if anyone beats Chimaev right now. And that includes Imavov. I don't think Imavov is going to beat Chimaev either. I think Chimaev is just going to continue to get those takedowns, going to continue to put pressure on. I wonder, though, can he finish Strickland? I'm not sure. He wasn't able to finish DDP. And again, I thought DDP and Strickland were kind of neck and neck when you saw those matchups. I know every fight's different as far as the styles go, but I think Chimaev might end up winning a decision here. I don't think it's going to be a quick finish. I know he's threatened Strickland and saying, it's going to be a quick win and all that stuff. I don't think that's going to happen here. We'll have to see. And again, if you look at Strickland and who he, let's say, again, I mentioned the power of Chimaev. You look at Strickland, who he's been knocked out by. One of the knockout losses he had in his career was against Zaleski, and that was a spinning hook that he didn't see. And also keep in mind that Strickland cut a lot of weight to 170. Probably shouldn't have been fighting in that weight class. That's the only knockout loss he had. And the only other one was Alex Pereira. And that's where Strickland said himself, I'm better than a glory kickboxer. And he went out there and proved the exact opposite. He's not going to do that against Chimaev. Although I do imagine he will keep this fight standing. But the point I'm making is he's not going to get reckless like he was against Pereira. And again, that fight was like 4 years ago, so can't take too much away there. But I do think this will be one of the biggest built-up fights of the year. I think the UFC did the right thing here. If you're Imavov, you'd probably be the backup, or you get some sort of fight here soon to stay busy. But again, we have to look at this through the lens that this is the Paramount era. They are doing matchmaking a little bit differently than they've done in the past. It's no different than Sean O'Malley's fighting, Ayman Zahabi, and nothing against Ayman, but like they obviously want O'Malley to win and get a highlight reel finish. That's why they did not do O'Malley and Umar or O'Malley and Sandhagen. Those seem like more obvious fights, but they're not doing them because they obviously the UFC wants a desired result there. It's kind of how I look at it. And I think they feel like O'Malley can finish Zahabi. So that's kind of the way I think they're going with this. So yeah, I will give the UFC credit. I think this is smart for striking while the iron's hot. I think there's one other grudge match you can make, and it's not in this division, and that's Kamaru Usman and Bilal Muhammad. Again, you just don't get two people who don't like each other too much and get them to fight each other. And we used to have more of that, I felt like, in the past with the UFC, and they don't really do it much anymore. And listen, I'm not saying you have to force people not to like each other, but these two already have that. You have the footage, you have the buildup. They don't have to add anything else into the countdown package to make this fight sell. People are going to tune in to watch this fight. And then look at the political aspect of this as well, too, where you've got, Strickland said all sorts of stuff about, Chimaev's ties with Kadyrov. You got Strickland's fan base, which is, pretty crazy. You've got, obviously, Chimaev's fan base. It's going to be it may end up being that the buildup to this fight is better than the fight itself, and that's fine. Again, we need some interest here. So again, I think Newark's getting a good main event here. I hope they give Imavov the winner, but to me, you got to strike while the iron's hot, and I do not have a problem with this title shot in the sense that we do not have grudge matches happen too often. This is a bona fide grudge match, and I think the UFC did the right thing here. So I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below. Would you rather have seen Imavov in this title fight than Strickland? I know people are going to say, oh, Strickland's got too many title shots. I understand that. Again, I'm focusing on the grudge match aspect. And who do you think wins? Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.